Lesson 11, again, no new lesson notes today, so let's get right into the examples. So we're going to assume that this is a unit circle here. Actually, we can say it's a unit circle because it's got a radius of a foot. So we know we have a unit circle. So label a point Q on this unit circle such that the counterclockwise rotation from P to Q is 3/4, 3/4 of a full rotation. So 3/4 of a full rotation starting at P. If we go counterclockwise, would be this point right here. So label a point Q such that the counterclockwise rotation from P to Q is 3/4 of a full rotation. We just did that. Number 2, what is the counterclockwise angle of rotation from P to Q in radians? So we know this is going to be 270 degrees in degrees. So we just got to convert that to radians. So let's go to our calculator here, and we can see I have this from a previous problem that I did. So 270 degrees, excuse me, is 3 pi over 2 radians. So the answer to number 2 is 3 pi over 2. Okay. Number 3, do this one over here. What is the clockwise angle of rotation from P to Q in radians? So that would be if I went from P to Q, but instead of going counterclockwise, I went clockwise. So that would mean what would happen if I went in the negative direction? So that would be 90 degrees in the negative direction, but it would have to be negative 90 because it's clockwise. So the angle of rotation is going to be negative 90 degrees. So I just have to convert that to radians. So convert negative 90 degrees to radians, and we get negative pi over 2. So the answer to number 3 is going to be negative pi over 2. Okay. Number 4 and 5, I'll do those down here. So number 4, which quadrant is angle pi over 6, 11 pi over 6 radians in? Is the cosine of the angle positive or negative? So before we actually answer the question, remember this is 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360 in degrees. And for quadrants, we know this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Okay, so let's look. Let's take that angle, 11 pi over 6, which we know is in radians. Let's convert that to degrees. So we're going to go here, and we're going to go radians to degrees. So this is going to be 11 pi divided by 6. 11 pi divided by 6 radians to degrees. That is 330 degrees. So 330 degrees. Okay. That's going to be somewhere in this quadrant right here, right? Because this is 270, and then back to where we started would be 360. So 330 is somewhere in there. So to answer the question, which quadrant is the angle 11 pi over 6 radians in? It's in quadrant 4. And then we want to know, is the cosine of 330 positive or negative? So to figure that out, we're going to go back. We're going to go all the way back to lesson 6 lesson notes, and we're going to look at this right here. Okay. Now, we said our angle was in quadrant 4, which is this quadrant down here. So in this quadrant, cosine is positive. Everything else, sine and tangent, are negative. So is the cosine of 330 degrees going to be positive or negative? Well, based on this, the cosine is going to be positive. So cosine is positive. So those are your answers to number 4. Number 5, we're basically going to do this exact same thing. So I'm going to take 19 pi over 6 radians. I'm going to convert that to degrees. So let me go to my calculator here. And again, just a reminder, if you need the calculator, okay, there's a link to the calculator in lesson 9, lesson notes, okay? That will link you to the calculator. So now we wanted to convert 19 pi over 6 from radians to degrees. And we get 570 degrees. So we got 570 degrees. So to figure out what angle that would be between 0 and 360, I have to take 570 and subtract 360 in order to get a coterminal angle. Okay, that goes with our lesson 7 notes, all right, to get our coterminal angles. So I'm going to take my calculator on my phone, and I'm going to do 570 minus 360, and I get 210 degrees. So 19 pi over 6 radians is equal to 570 degrees, and 570 degrees is the same as 210 degrees. So 210 degrees is between 180 and 270. So that is going to be in this quadrant right here. So that would be quadrant 3. So which quadrant is the angle 19 pi over 6 radians in? It's in quadrant 3. And then we're going to go back to lesson 6. In quadrant 3, is cosine going to be positive or negative? Well, according to this, quadrant 3 is this one right here. So according to this, tangent is positive in quadrant 3. So tangent is positive, everything else is negative. So that would include cosine. So the cosine is negative. So there is your answer to number 5, and that is it for lesson 11.